Welcome to Intelligent Human Leadership, leading yourself and your team. Do you ever find yourself grappling with a lack of confidence in your team? Or battling the relentless waves of concern and fear? Are the pressures to meet client expectations and the burden of missed opportunities weighing you down? On this podcast, you'll discover the strategies and insights that will reignite your team's morale and help you find the harmony and knowledge you seek to propel your business forward. Here, we explore innovative ways to reignite your creative spirit and achieve greatness, empowering you to lead with intelligence, compassion, and resilience. If you're ready to dive deep into your core of leadership challenges and be guided toward success, here's your host, founder of Steward Your Business, David Carr.
Welcome back to the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. It is fantastic to have you here. At the end of 2024, I'm recording this here in mid-December, and I'm so grateful that you guys have followed me along this journey over this past year. I launched Intelligent Human Leadership in January this year, and I've come back with you week after week to provide you resources to help you be that most intelligent human leader. And in the last week, we talked about this relational impact tool. And if you missed that episode, I'll summarize it briefly here because we're going to go a little deeper in asking some really important questions about building a trust, understanding one another, and creating, meaningful opportunities, not just in your business. That's where we always start here, but beyond your business, in your relationships with your family and others in your life. And who doesn't want to have better, more impactful relationships in business, family, community? We're going into the end of the year where oftentimes we're kind of pulled out of our norm because of the holidays with Christmas, New Year's, all of those things. And so you may be having some different conversations that you haven't had in the past, or at least not recently. And so I want to equip you to help you come out better on the other side. This whole podcast is about empowering you, encouraging you, if you will, to equip and help you become that most intelligent leader. And the way we do that is by taking in information, knowledge, right? But it's only as good as we're able to convert it to wisdom, apply it in our lives. And so that's what I'm going to do today. Stick with me here on this podcast. We're going to dive into how we can have greater relational impact and improve our communication. And I believe all of us want to have that. So for those of you that missed the last episode, go back and check out the full deep dive. But I'm going to show real quick here, for those that watch our video on YouTube or LinkedIn, I'm showing a little a screenshot here of the relational impact tool about for self and for them. And we want to move from being all about us to being about them. How do we serve them? How do we help them? How do we provide relevant solutions to them? How do we take them from what I call the pit to the peak? How do we take them from where they're stuck and get them into a place of possibilities? And so you can go back and listen to the last episode. We did a deeper dive on this, but I'm going to apply what I call the warrior questions. These are tools and resources that I've used as a warrior coach. For those of you who know that I'm certified with Wake Up Warrior, one of the companies that I've got trained and been a part of for many years. And there's a book I'm showing here on the screen if you're watching. It's called We Live by a Code. Stop lying, start living today. And the code is simple, and I've talked about this also in previous episodes, but it's about identifying our facts of our life. It's about identifying the feelings. What are we focusing on? And ultimately, what's the fruit coming from that? Another way of saying that is that we're being real, we're being raw, we're being relevant, and we're talking about the results. So the questions I'm going to help you today, lead you on, should get at those things, should be able to get at the feelings, get at the facts, get at the root of some of these things so we can start to shift the story. You guys have heard me talk about that. Tools like the stack and what I incorporate in my coaching. But if we don't understand this and we go for the jugular, go for somebody to make a decision and an action, and you haven't built a container or framework for them to trust you, to know you, to like you, the likelihood that they're going to engage you, whether it be a client or a family member, your wife, is greatly diminished. So we're going to look today, how do we create a frame, a safe frame, if you will, for impactful interactions? Whether you're coaching, whether you're teaching, whether you're telling a story, you're facilitating, you may be taking these different roles. And so how do you make that role that you're fulfilling the most influential? And so we do that by breaking down some key questions I'm going to ask you today, and I want you to consider them. And you listening and you've got a pen or a paper, write that down. Or again, you can follow up with me, and I'm happy to share with you. You can message me, David at stewardyourbusiness.com, or follow me at stewardyourbusiness.com, or whatever the social platform is your favorite. I'm on most of the major ones, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those things. So in any case, I want you to look about building understanding. And this is a different way of looking at it from our last episode. And it's one that's going to give you some different questions to ask. It's going to go deeper. We talked a little about them, but I want to go with the very first question. This gets at what's the facts of your life, and what's the fruit? What's coming out of your life? Where are you now? It's a big question. Where are you now? You could open up this question. It's very curious. It's very non-judgmental. You're just asking the person to tell you where they're at. I don't know where they're at. I don't know whether they're in their business or their marriage, perhaps, or perhaps we might be able to get some ideas on their physical well-being, possibly by looking at them. Maybe not. We don't know about where they're at spiritually, perhaps. And so this is an opportunity for them to tell you, hey, where are you at? What's going on with you? And if they say, well, what do you mean? Well, you can give them an example yourself. What I find is when we lead by example, and this whole podcast says know yourself to lead yourself, and you can be honest, transparent, and almost in a sense throw yourself under the bus, then you can have this greater impact because they trust you. They believe you. They know that you're looking after their best interest in mind. And so when we give ourselves first, we kind of go out there first. We're like, oh, well, you're going first. You're sharing. And so, if that's a good way to start, we'll say, here's where I'm at. This is what's going on with me. And don't pick all the good things. I mean, it's okay to say the good things, but be willing to face the challenging things. Here's where I really messed up. Here's where I've been learning. I had this really conversation and it didn't work this way. It doesn't have to be necessarily like today, but we definitely want to reflect back on the things that you have gone through and that have enabled you to come into this place, come into this person's world. Because they're welcoming you because you have some kind of a credibility or understanding that they may not have. And they want to know, how did you get there? What was it that you went through? What allowed you to have this? So where are you now? Or perhaps ask them, how do you feel? And then I'm just going to give you kind of a guide here. So if you ask them, where are they now? How do you feel about where you are? Oftentimes people have not tapped into their emotions well. This is where I came into the warrior world, wake up warrior world, because I couldn't access them. I lived in a very narrow band of emotions, and that actually hindered me. Didn't help me. It actually hindered me in deepening my relationships because I just couldn't live more authentically. Can they even express the feelings? Do they even know them? Besides happy, sad, mad, glad, those are very common, very surface level feelings. But if they can go deeper, or you can help them dig deeper or reflect back, when you ask them these questions, be a mirror. So this is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I have you coming back. And be quiet. Listen for understanding, not to speak back. Remember, we're building relationship here. Give them the opportunity to breathe. Sometimes they'll pause and you're going to want to jump in there. Be okay with some silence. Be okay with letting it breathe. As one that talks a lot and is a connector, you may have heard me talk about this in past episodes as part of the 5 voices. I have a tendency to fill the space with words, and that's not always helpful. So it's important to know your voice as well. If we're looking at the facts of their life, kind of the fruit of their life, when we talk about their feelings, we're still looking at the facts, but we're also saying, how did you get to where you're at? How did you get here? Feelings of inadequacy, frustration, perhaps deep joy or peace. But most likely they have a challenge or a problem. And if you're working with them, I want you to be listening very closely for what they're sharing about how do they get here? Because they got stuck somewhere along the way. And you're potentially a person that can assist them. In business, this is really important. We need to be listening for what has tripped them up, what has caused them a challenge, what's the puzzle that they're unable to solve that you might be able to help them with. So how did you get where you are? And then is where you are working, is where you are right now. We just said, okay, so here's I am. Is that working for you? So again, facts of our life, but the focus now, what's the relevancy here? Is this actually serving me? Because if they're coming to see you, something's not right. Again, focusing in here on in the domain of business. And then the question that inevitably comes from that is, why is it working or not working? They say, oh, everything's fine. Okay, well, tell me more about that. Because you might understand as you ask the questions and you're curious, you realize, yeah, it's not really fine. It's not really as good as they think it is. But they are unwilling or perhaps just uncertain about how to share this with you because they don't have trust. They haven't built that with you. And get clear on what is working and what's not working. Again, what's the facts and what's the focus? Because what we're trying to get to is desired results, desired fruit, desired outcome. But if they're not getting that, we're reverse engineering it, we're backing it up. And so we want to move towards solutions here. Another way of looking at this, kind of root questions that we can jump into toward moving solutions, is asking a simple question. What do you want? What do you want? Most people, believe it or not, don't know what they really want. They have ideas of maybe what somebody else wants or something that's been marketed to them that you should have this, or, I really think this is important for you, but they're not really clear on what they really want. What's truly the desired outcome? What's a win-win? Because the follow-up question to that naturally is, well, why do you want that? What's the feelings associated with it? What would that look like if you actually had that? Is that really what you want? Why? Why is that important? Why is that important to you? And if you can't articulate that very succinctly, and you go on and on and on, if you start to hear that, that should be an indicator to you this person's not clear on what they want. And they're filling the space, especially if you're quiet and listening. They'll keep talking and talking. You can ask a follow-up question about how would you feel if you got what you wanted? And what are the facts and what are those feelings associated with if you got this? What would that look like for you? What would that feel? What would that experience be? Can they imagine it in their mind? Or maybe they haven't even got there. Like, I don't even know if I got that. What would that feel like in the business, working with these people, working with these colleagues or clients or coworkers? And here's a big one. What is in the way of getting what you want? So if you're clear, you're like, I really do want this. I'm very clear on what I want. And here we're at the end of the year coming in 2024. I'm recording this, and you're going to have a lot of people asking, what do you want for 2025? What do you really want? Is that important to you? Why? Why is it important to you? What would be the outcome of that? And if you're really clear on it, and again, this is where having a coach is helpful because it's a refinement process. But if you're really clear on what you really want, what is in the way of getting what you want? What is the obstacle, if you will? That's another important question. It often has failed to be asked. What's in the way of getting what you want? Again, we're all about building relationship here, right? Do you see how we're asking some very powerful, simple, but powerful questions to get an understanding where this person's at? Because if we start throwing solutions and all these things about I do this, that, and the other thing, and we don't understand this, it's meaningless. It's really utterly meaningless. We're not showing true love and appreciation for this other person. We're being more transactional. And so here are, how do we help this person truly? Follow-up question you can ask is, what would be required to overcome that obstacle that you just talked about that was getting in the way? Number one, could you identify the obstacle? Number two, you even understand how you would overcome that obstacle. And again, they may not know. Maybe he's stuck here. And this is where you can start to see where you might be able to help them. Maybe they're not clear on what they want. They don't know the feelings associated with it. They're not clear on the way to get what they want. They don't even know the obstacles because they don't even know the way to get there. Kind of backing this up, okay? So these are uncovering the felt needs, the pain points, so that we can create powerful, impactful solutions to serve them. Finally, and we could go much deeper in these, but I want to give you an overview here of the questions. If we have gotten through some of these things and we're listening, and I encourage you to maybe go back to this episode and listen and write these down if you're not writing them down, these questions, because they're very powerful questions. I want you to explore how you can create actionable momentum. Here we're all about action. Here we're all about making an impact. Moving, okay? What do you know must be done first? What do you know must be done first? What do you need to do today? Because what happens is we write these things down, and I'm so guilty of this too. We'll put it in a book, we'll put it somewhere else, and it sits and it goes away, and we don't do anything about it. We spent all this energy in developing it and going through these emotions and getting clear at the facts, the focus, the fruit of our lives, the feelings of us swirling around all these things. But we need to get actionable. So what do you know must be done first? Associated with that is, how will you measure this action? So we've talked about this in past episodes too. There's an acronym SMART goals: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-based. How are you going to measure that this gets done? It could be as simple as, I'm going to make a phone call to talk with this person. I'm going to send the email, right? I'm going to schedule the appointment. I'm going to read the chapter of the book. Whatever that might be, what is it? And be specific. Again, and then the follow-up question is when will it be done? So what do you know must be done first? How will you measure this? And when will it be done? A very simplified version of the SMART acronym. So that way you can connect, accountability in building relational trust, because you care. Like, I want to make sure you succeed. When I meet with clients, we do follow-up. We always do action items. We look at, and I ask questions as a coach. It's my job to peel back the layers of the onion, so to speak, to understand where they're at. Ask them the questions out of care, out of service, to help them move along their journey. So when we look at this tool of the relational impact, these questions that I've gleaned and applied to my own life, honestly, I don't give you anything that I don't look back at my life and apply to my life, and kind of put a magnifying glass on. This can be huge in our business relationships, our sales teams, our team dynamics, and gives us opportunity to serve. I spent the last 2 days down here in Southern California in Laguna Beach, going on a business summit, working with other men and asking questions about these things, refining them, putting myself in this container, if you will, like this crucible, to be refined, to get clearer, to take the actions that I need to going into 2025. And that's what I do with my clients in the Steward Your Business and your Steward Yourself programs, where you can come in and get clarity and be with others that are on this journey. So you don't feel alone. You don't feel isolated. You're encouraged. You know that there's others fighting the good fight with you. When we do this, we're going to build long-lasting relationships and connections. And there's men that I've known for years, and I saw men this last weekend, where it was like, man, what an amazing experience to be able to ask each other these questions, to be in a community and a connection, excuse me, where we can build relationship and then foster opportunity. I want you to be able to look and consider some of these questions. There's a lot of them there, but I want you to make sure that you're moving the lever toward being for them and impacting. Moving that lever, and I'll share that to you for those that are watching again, going from ourself being about them, moving toward their felt need and pain, understanding that, building the relationship, having that significant impact, then you actually have a relevant solution, a relevant result for them, a relevant outcome, fruit, if you will, that is desirable. Nobody, we want to gain things that are desirable, helpful, useful to them. So remember this. And I want to encourage you to share your thoughts, your feedback on these questions as you listen to them, as you reflect on them. When we implement this relational impact tool, we ask these big questions. It's going to transform relationships because it shows we care, shows we listen, and shows we're being intentional about showing up, being a person of influence, caring about the other person, leading from that place, looking after their highest good. That's what it's about to be the most intelligent human leader. Got plenty of technology and AI out there, but your impact as a human to human is so important. In today's age where we're disconnected, even though we're quote unquote connected electronically, but we are more often disconnected than ever. Use these tools, use these resources to inform how you show up and how you care for others in your life. It's a gift. We're coming into Christmas, and I want you to encourage you. This is a true gift to others. But the fact that you would listen and ask these questions, discover the true pain that another person is going through without calling judgment and trying to get all, righteous. Be curious, understand, listen for what's going on, what's in their way, and help them. Provide actionable steps and deliver solutions based on the trust you have built, based on your ability to come into the world, them opening up their world to you so that you can be that most. I'm so grateful for you guys to be on this journey week after week. I'm going to keep coming with episodes here and invite you to follow along, subscribe, leave a comment. It means so much to me to hear from you, and of course to share this along your journey, how it's positively affected you. And honestly, I totally welcome you to ask me the questions of how can this be better? What can we do to improve it? Suggestions, totally welcome, because I'm here as a servant leader for you, the listener, and appreciating you guys coming along this journey. Let's end 2024 well. As you're listening to this, go with joy, peace, and love in your way you're showing up. And let's move you from the pit of the pain that you're in to really the peak. And if you're stuck or you're not quite sure how to get there, there's a place for you here in Steward Your Business. Just reach out to me. I would love to meet with you, talk with you, find a time where we can get together. And until then, have an amazing Christmas and New Year's. When I come back to you guys again, and we'll look forward to connecting with you guys again on the next episode of the Intelligent Leadership Podcast. Thanks, everybody.